like since starting to come on these calls, just like being able to pick and choose like these like traditional exercises that I was just throwing at someone randomly, like now actually having like a reason for them has been really helpful.
Shouldn't there be a reason for everything that you do?
There definitely should.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand. And, oh, ladies and gentlemen, it is perfect. Zach, I'm really hoping you have a question and you're not going to sing to me.
I don't know how I could possibly follow that up. So my question is going to be in regards to like core strengthening for low back pain.
I don't know what that means at all. Go ahead.
So how it's just like traditionally taught in PT school, like low back pain, the answer for all of it is just all these different core strengthening exercises. So just wondering if you've thought about that ever through the lens of your model, because one of the things that I think has been interesting to hear you like talk about sometimes is how like maybe some of these things that are traditionally taught are useful, but for like a specific type of person or presentation through your lens. So do you see any utility in those types of activities for a specific presentation, or are people just getting better with this sometimes?
I don't know what activities you're talking about, boss.
Like planks, side planks, paddle off, just like any generic.
So force production?
Yeah, just like isometric, like core activities.
Okay, what's an isometric, Grace?
Doesn't exist.
Grace had an epiphany on Monday at the gym in regards to muscle contractions. So I'm picking on her a little bit. Whoa, somebody needs to mute there. You're offering up a very vague representation of something that's not very helpful. So let me grab my anatomy book, okay? And then I'm going to grab it. I'm going to go to the section on the core. And then let me catch up to you because I'm not really sure what that is. So step one, we have an ill-defined representation, right?
Yeah.
And then we have this vague notion of strength, which is a comparative measure, right? I can tell when somebody is stronger as long as I'm talking about the same thing. So we don't really have anything useful in that statement. No, and I'm not picking on you. I'm just picking on the profession, right? So what is the intention when you're doing an activity like that? If it's something that's vague and ill-defined, I don't see how that can be helpful because I need a process that allows me to make an effective decision under a specific circumstances. So there has to be something that leads me in the direction where I go, that's what I need to do. Versus some vague notion of, oh, you just need to get stronger, which doesn't help me. So it's not that those activities don't have utility. It's just that the reasoning behind their application is ill-defined, right? So okay, if you got somebody in a side plank, Zach, what are you trying to do with the downside support? What do you think you're driving home there on that side?
On the downside, that'd be internal rotation measure.
Yeah. So when would you use that?
I'm trying to get IR.
Yeah, it's like let's not be over complex. It's like, okay, I need to drive some more IR on that side. How could I possibly do that? Hey, how about I drive internal rotation into the ground through an extremity and through a hip at the same time, because that's what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. I'm promoting a shape change. I'm promoting a higher pressure strategy on the downside versus the upside, right? So now we can have a discussion that has some reasoning behind it versus some vague notion of core strength.
Yeah, no, and I definitely knew coming into this, like the question was like gonna be a little bit vague, but I guess like
you start using the C word in the wrong population and it becomes insulting, you know?
Right. But I just feel like those like types of activities that are just like haphazardly thrown someone's way that comes low back pain, that's just like something that you see very often. And so I was kind of just like trying to think through, like, it's persisted for so long in the field, I feel like.
Right.
And people are getting better, but now it's like, are they getting better because of that? Is it just natural history? And it's just like, so like just trying to figure out, like, do these actually play a role for, because I watched, like, you had one video about stretching, like, all right, here's a situation where, like, maybe stretching actually does have some utility based off of presentation. So it's kind of going off of that line of thinking for, sorry to say it again, but like for the core, general core strengthening stuff.
There are no generals. There's no general, right? Everything has a specific effect. We might not know what it is, and it might be affecting a number of things, but each one of those things is responding very specifically. There is no general, right? There are broad, right? So we can encompass a number of things, but general doesn't really make much sense, right? But again, all these vague representations are not helpful to anyone.
Right. And
then they wonder why people are confused, right? And just because something's been around and you know, the jargon laden stuff that just gets perpetuated because nobody's challenging it. They're not using reasoning skills to go, wait a minute, what does that even mean? Right? It's not helpful. But do you see what I'm saying though? It's like all of those activities have utility. What you need is a better representative model so you can say, oh, under this circumstance, this would be a useful choice, or maybe a better choice under certain circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I mean, like, since starting to come on these calls, just like being able to pick and choose like these like traditional exercises that I was just throwing at someone randomly, like now actually having like a reason for them has been really helpful.
Shouldn't there be a reason for everything that you do?
There definitely should.
Yeah, and it is okay, because this is part of your evolution as a professional, is that you start to accumulate the reasoning and then you start to apply, right? But let me offer you this. If you do something and you're not sure why you're doing it, but you think it's a good thing to do, pay attention and then go, here's the response that I got from this, and then make a note of that, because that's how it works anyway. So let's just say we don't have a great representative model, but I'm a darn good observer, and I say, here's the circumstances that keep showing up. I do this activity and everybody gets better every time I do that. That's probably a good solution. You might not know why it's a good solution, right? But that might just take time and understanding, right?
Yep.
You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do good things for people. Even like, I drive a car. I have no idea, other than where the gas goes, I have no idea how a car works. It's amazing to me, right? But I can use a car without having to know how it works, right? We do a lot of things like that, and it's acceptable as long as you're not hurting people and putting people at risk. But pay attention. That's how you shift the probabilities in your favor. That's how you start to understand how things work. And then we go back, and in hindsight, we go, this might have happened, this might have happened. And then over time, we get better and better and better. We start narrowing our reasoning. And then our interventions become very targeted. And we can say, this scenario needs this type of an intervention. That's how you get better. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's
a really good question. That's probably going to make a highlight. There you go.
There we go. I'm making the birthday highlight reel. Thank you, and happy birthday.
You're welcome. Thanks.